Yes, sir. Welcome back to another Trap or Die film session. I am your host of the Trap or Die podcast, Mual, man. And on this Trap or Die film session, we are going to be talking about Jayden Daniels, man. Yes, college prospects are here. It is that type of season for the NFL as we dive into our prospects. And on this series for Jayden Daniels, we're going to be looking at his scrambling and running ability. If you haven't checked out the other series, make sure you do so. There will be a portfolio for players. Not all of their skill sets, abilities, and what they struggle with are going to be in one episode. We're going to kind of break them down, spread them out. So with that being said, let's go ahead and tap into right now Jayden Daniels' strengths and weaknesses as a runner and scrambler. And before we get started, as always, man, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. But yeah, Jayden Daniels film session starts now. All right, so one thing that you'll notice with these clips in the portfolios, sometimes they go from 2022 and 2023. So 2-year span for some of these players that we'll be tapping into here on Trap or Dive. And with that being said, this is the 2022 season. Actually, the opening kickoff for Jayden Daniels and the LSU Tigers. But one thing when you look at Jayden Daniels as a runner, you know, he has this idea or this narrative about him of who he is as a runner, right? So let's kind of tap into that and let you see for your eyes and see what type of runner he is for LSU, right? So as you start, one thing that you want to pay attention to is what the play looks like when it's on structure and what the play looks like at the point in which he scrambles, right? So in this moment, you got a 2-by-1 situation, right? 2 receivers to the field side, top of your screen, and you have a receiver in motion going to the right. So now you got a 2-by-2 now because of the motion, a receiver and a tight end at the bottom of your screen, 2 receivers at the top of your screen, and you're running back to the left of them, right? All 5 go out for a route in which you see that 7, the receiver at the bottom, breaking in for your dig route, right? There's a couple instances, there's a couple situations where you have to take into account, like, what coverage are they playing and can I make this throw? If you want to take this risk, you can make this throw, but essentially with man coverage and that safety on the boundary side, crashing down on that breaking in route, right? It's probably not a good throw to make. So in that moment, you feel that pressure, right? Let's kind of look at everything in its totality. You see the routes developing downfield, right? And Jayden Daniels understands this. And I think that's why you kind of see the good pocket awareness from him in terms of like being able to feel and sense pressure, right? And now you see the foot quickness, right? And the lateral quickness at work, being able to escape bad situations and make defense pay for not being able to maintain their rush gaps. And that is an example of what Jayden can do for you. And we'll show some more examples as we continue to build his profile up. So again, as we continue this trend, right, understanding who he is as a scrambler and a runner, let's go ahead and take a look at some more examples. This is from last season's 2023 year, right? But again, let's kind of look at the structure downfield and see what type of runner he is. First and foremost, you get instant pressure immediately, right? It's kind of hard to see anything in front of you. Jayden is, I think, 6'3", maybe 6'4". Y'all can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think he's like around 6'3", 6'4". I forgot in real time. But you're talking about instant pressure in your lap, right? So now at this point, you can't even see downfield. So he does a good job evading that instant pressure, right? Scrambling outside. But look at the rush line, because at this point, we're talking about a quarterback who is trying to buy time. So let's kind of see how he creates and makes something shake, right? So as we know with Washington fans and Chase Young, Montez Sweat, John Allen, Deron Payne, all of the other backup defensive linemen, rush gap integrity is important and has been important for Washington Commanders. So we kind of have a familiarity with this. But on the college level, it becomes even more critical because sometimes they aren't developed enough to the point where they actually have to know, where they are reminded of it on a down-to-down basis, right? Or even if they are, they just simply have a lapse from a mental processing standpoint. Anyway, right, you get that instant pressure immediately, and now you see 17, right? That 3-tech defender in between the guard and the tackle, and then you have a second-level blitzer, number 21, taking on that running back. All of them go inside. So when you see Jayden Daniels have that maneuverability or escapability to spin out of that trouble and now reach the boundary, now his athleticism takes over and he turns what could have been for a normal quarterback with not that much foot speed in athleticism, could have been like a 10-yard gain, turned it into 20 plus, right? So let's kind of look at this from the other angle and see how he gets himself out of trouble, all right? That's a huge gain. And when you have defenders who can't maintain gap integrity, you see Jayden Daniels' ability to take off and make the best out of a situation where his offensive line didn't necessarily do a good job of protecting him. Again, another instance from Auburn. What are we looking at here, right? Now, from a standpoint which looks like a shallow cross, if I'm not mistaken, not a shallow cross. Well, you got one shallow cross, excuse me. Number 2 is crossing on the first level, and you got your running back leaking out to the right. What looks like a cover 3, I believe, is essentially you're seeing number 5 from, we're going to show the other angle though, but you see number 5, right? Initially, there's nobody really open that is worth throwing to. Mind you, I think this is a 3rd down. I want to say it's a 3rd down. I'm forgetting the down in distance. Oh, 2nd down, sorry. Just 2nd down. Again, when you're talking about a person as athletic as Jayden Daniels and number 5 doesn't maintain his gap integrity, now you see the alley that he has in this situation, right? You're talking about nothing but green grass where he's headed, and number 5 isn't able to keep him in the pocket because he crashes down. So let's look at the other angle. See him working his progressions, right? And he just says, F it. I know that I'm faster than you all. I know that y'all aren't going to beat me to the sideline. I'm going to get this first down on my own. And again, talking about a quarterback with the athleticism and foot speed to beat 2nd and 3rd level defenders consistently, beat them to their angles, all of those things, man. That's just as important. If you're saying, why didn't he take this 10-yard throw if the throw was available to him, and he makes the play, what could have been a 10-yard throw, it makes it a 30-yarder with his legs. All right, so as we continue the examples, here's one against Alabama, 2023. Again, you're talking about defenses trying to maintain that gap integrity. But again, when we talk about coverage processing from Jayden Daniels, right, and we're trying to build that profile of Jayden, who is Jayden, when you're looking at what he's doing downfield or what the receivers are doing downfield, at the point in which he's starting to sense some pressure, your running back is the only one that's open right now if you want to take that risk, right? But eventually, as you see, this is somewhat of a cover 3 structure, but that 13, that slot defender ultimately comes back down because that's his zone, essentially. So when you're talking about, again, this is a quarterback who understands how to make a defense pay if you don't contain him well. This isn't easy right here either. Let's not ignore this. You have the play strength, right? The functional strength to keep pushing through a tackle attempt from a defensive lineman and get upfield and make something shake for your offense. That's an easy, 25, 30-yard gain for Jayden. Big play. Continuing the theme, again, Jayden Daniels. Look, at this point, you're sending a delayed blitz. 4 rushers ultimately ends up being 6 when the linebacker decides to green dog. Maybe one was in a spot and he jumped the gun trying to step up to the offensive lineman, right? But at that point, once you miss that sack from that edge rusher, right, and there's nobody outside to contain Jayden, this is a man coverage. Everybody has their back towards Jayden. Now you're talking about a 50-yard gain because y'all can't contain him. If you miss on Jayden, he's going to make you pay. And this isn't from a sense of like nobody being open or somebody being open, right? And he's like choosing not to throw it. Yeah, it's pressure in his face. And he decides to take off. Again, beating angles. 25 or 26 was in the fight for his life trying to get him. And he gets him at the last second before he scores. Hey, something similar here. Now you got pressure immediately in your face, right? Let me get out of there. I'm gonna make something shake. But what we're seeing here is a dynamic athlete making plays with his legs, right? He has the speed, but he also has the lateral quickness. Smart for him to get down, although you don't always see it. Lastly, as a scrambler, what you're seeing, continuing narrative of what he's doing when receivers aren't open or he's sensing pressure or he knows that these gaps are way too wide for him not to exploit this, right? I'm going to take off and make something shake. And he makes you pay. So here we go, same deal. When that linebacker decides to pick up 27 because he comes out, now it's all about making something shake and making plays, bro. It was easy. It was a jog from the 7-yard line. And as a design runner, he's just as dangerous. We know that, right? So, boom, read option, keeping the ball. but making sure you make that first man miss. Now, this angle's not going to do it justice, so hopefully you saw it on the other angle. But the move that he puts on guy freezes him, makes his feet flat, jumps out of position, easy walk-in touchdown in a goal line situation, right? Same thing in a situation where you have a read option play. He's very good at manipulating his blockers and influence that second level, even the first level, all three levels, honestly. Look at number 1, the bottom right of your screen. He's already out of position. And 3 is out of position too. Now you have a wall that you just follow, get upfield, easy touchdown. Dynamic runner, good vision, right? And knows how to create some angles for his linemen. When we mention beating angles with his foot speed, this is probably one of the best examples. Talking about an 85-yard touchdown run with foot speed and long speed, right? Like he's smoking everybody. He's smoking everybody into the end zone on a read option play. And I think that's important because, again, dynamic athlete, right? But everybody don't got long speed like Jayden. Sometimes they're going to tire out. He didn't stop. He was gone. That is a major threat for any defense, no matter if you're on a pro or college level, that is, or even high school. Like, that's elite foot speed. Again, one situations or sometimes how he was used down there in LSU is the design QB draws as well, especially catching defenses off guard. Now you're seeing the agility and foot speed all in unison, making him a difficult person to bring down in open space. Like that gallop to or that slight little hurdle to get over the defender and get an extra 5 yards is impressive. So one thing that you can see with Jayden that kind of is not necessarily concerning, but it's sometimes he'll get himself into some trouble is when he does see that pressure, right? Or he sees an opportunity to get out of the pocket and extend the play. Every play isn't meant for you to try and gain some yards, right? Now, granted, you're talking about a person who believes in his ability as an athlete, right? He can beat anybody to the corner. But sometimes, especially when people aren't open downfield at the point in which you're scrambling, look at what we're looking at right here, right? He's scrambling. He's trying to get out of the pocket. Throw the football away. You don't have to take a bad, like this is a bad shot. You don't have to do that. Throw it away. Now, I want to acknowledge that this play is a little hard to decipher, and I don't want to penalize Jayden Daniels overly too much, right? I think the takeaway is what you see in the pocket. The feet get a little antsy, right? But also what you'll notice here is him dropping his eyes from downfield now to the rush in front of him, right? He's just worried about escaping. But instead of like subtly stepping up, like having that anticipation or feel for the pressure around him, he just tries to get, like he just drops his head down and ultimately runs right into pressure. And he can't get out of that one. So sometimes he does drop his head when he senses some pressure, and that kind of disallows him from either keeping a play alive downfield or just running in some of his own sacks, as opposed to staying a little bit more calm or patient in the pocket and finding an exit plan. So for all of the praise I gave him as a scrambler, I know I only gave 2 clips as a negative light as a scrambler, some of the problems that you may run into. But truth be told, that's one of the things that he does best. He's a really good runner. I think one thing he'll just have to keep in mind, or coaches will probably work with him on the next level, is how to be better in the pocket as a thrower when he does sense some pressure, or even as a scrambler. Like, you don't have to drop your eyes and look at the pressure. Sometimes you have to trust what you feel, and that can help you too. Again, he makes you pay when you abandon your rush gaps, right? Your rush lanes. And I think that's one of the ultimate compliments when you have a Jayden Daniels back there, is even if your offensive line isn't that good, if it isn't, you have opportunities to make plays with your quarterback because he's a deadly scrambler. And I think that is an important trait to think about, especially when you're younger on the next levels, because while you take that time to develop as a passer, if you are that person who lacks as a passer, this is the avenue that you take in terms of your development, being an elite athlete and getting yourself out of trouble. So that's going to wrap it up for this film session. Hope you all enjoyed. Again, stay tuned for the portfolios, more portfolios as we keep this thing pushing up until draft day, man. So that's Mual. I'm up out of here. Y'all be safe. Peace.
Trap it down, trap it down, trap it down, you gon' trap it down. Trap it down, you gon' trap it down. Damn, set, watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive, this is Trap or Dive.